The planets these creatures invade will be left drained. The fleets that they meet in their wake will be annihilated. Since their rising to the stars, they have known only war. They will swarm, they will kill, and they will consume everything in their path, because that is the only thing they know. Colonies and planets are left devastated after their arrival, and therefore, very little is known about them. We shall look at this insectoid life form today, and we'll ask and answer, who are the Cravers? The Cravers enter onto the Endless Lore scene when the virtual Endless raise them to fight their war against the concrete Endless. This war is also known as the Dust Wars. The virtual Endless took the decision to raise the Cravers to space after having noticed that they would not be capable of progressing their civilization otherwise. It seemed these ancient Cravers lacked the ability to cultivate crops and keep animals for food. It is with this knowledge that we can easily make the inference that this insectoid life form were at least at some point not half machine. Any race that is capable of putting computers into their skin, or even just wrapping themselves in metal, is very likely capable of maintaining a good harvest. It is unknown what the Virtual's full intention for the Cravers was. We know that they were raised for war, but what were they to do after that? It would seem war was the only thing they were ever meant for, because even after the Virtual left, the Cravers would only consume. They would only ever expand. Equally, there is an amount of short-sightedness on the Virtual's behalf. They seem to have not done enough experimentation on the Cravers to know just how destructive they were. The Cravers are a special type of animal. If they cannot find something to devour, to consume, they will begin to consume themselves to keep themselves alive. When the Cravers were unleashed on a concrete planet, it disgusted the Virtuals to see that the Cravers would not stop at just killing them. They would eat them, and they would consume, and they would spread. It disgusted the Virtuals so much they took the Cravers, left them on an arid planet, and began to bomb them to extinction. Luckily for the Cravers, the concretes were able to drive them out of the area, and the Cravers carried on existing. With the upgrades the Virtuals had given the Cravers, they were able to cultivate crops and therefore survive on this arid planet they'd been left on. And as time passed, they were able to actually raise themselves back into space. There isn't any evidence to suggest that the Virtuals did not influence the Cravers' social structure, but there isn't any evidence to suggest that they did either. However, Cravers' social structure is not dissimilar from bees or ants. Starting from the bottom, there are locusts or drones. These are the day-to-day workers for the Cravers and their industrial backbone, but they are also non-sentient. They cannot think for themselves. Then there are the warriors or the soldiers, the ones who fly ships, the ones who fight battles or invade planets. They are not evidently sentient, though some Craver heroes have been exposed to dust and have gained sentience that way. Then there are the bishops, the sentient Cravers. The bishop class Craver that we know of, Apollo Sundered or Aurelia Sundered, actually became a humanitarian and rejected hive life. And then there are the queens. In this sense being dissimilar from insects, one queen does not yield a whole population of Cravers. There are a large number of queens to try and keep population rates up. And then there is the hive leader, and there is only one thing that it wants: to consume you and your planet. It is due to this want that the Cravers will not broker peace or even talk of trade. They will just war and take what they want. The Cravers share a lot of traits with another faction, but from a different game, and technically set during a very different time, and these are the Necrophages of Endless Legend. Now, as Endless Legend is in alpha, I think it would be inappropriate for me to tell you everything that I think I know about the Necrophages, as this could change in the future. However, from what we know now, we can formulate at least 3 theories. Theory number 1, The Necrophage and the Cravers are two very different factions. They are from different games, from different times, and they are unrelated in any way. Theory number 2, the Necrophages are actually descendants of the Cravers, and that the Cravers were in fact raised from Auriga. And theory number 3, the Necrophages were actually developed as a weapon to be used against the Cravers. Of these 3 theories, theory 2 and 3 are directly linked to possible lore to the Cravers, so we'll look at those for now, but wait for a future video when more information is released so we can actually make a proper judgment. The Necrophage share very similar traits with the Cravers, such as their lack of ability in cultivation. Whereas the Cravers were deemed to be completely unfit, the Necrophage show a degree of skill. This would explain what He Who Meddles is talking about at the beginning of the Necrophage's trailer for Endless Legend. He Who Meddles mentions how his former colony died due to being driven by their hunger. However, due to He Who Meddles' stolen sentience, he is able to lead his colony to greatness. This would be in line with theory number 2, that is to say that the Necrophages are descended from Cravers who were not actually individually picked up by the Virtuals. Let's not overlook the fact either that the Necrophages' society is somewhat similar to the Cravers. However, some of the Necrophages have a striking resemblance to some of the monsters from Dungeon of the Endless. Now we know that the Dungeon of the Endless is set in the Husk of Knowledge on Auriga, which means the Necrophages are part of a xenobiological experiment. The Husk of Knowledge was destroyed and ruined during the Dust Wars, but there is reason to suggest that at least during the Dust Wars, the Husk of Knowledge was in the control of the Concrete Endless. This can be seen in the design of some of the temples that scatter Auriga. If you look very closely, they bear a striking resemblance to the Endless hero, Sgiori Kyriai, who is indeed a Concrete Endless. So let's think of what the Concrete Endless have experienced during the Dust Wars. Invasions by the Cravers have left worlds ruined, and perhaps the Concrete Endless began to design a weapon to fight back against the Cravers. The Necrophages are just as destructive as the Cravers. They spread just as fast, if not maybe a bit faster, but they also have this one key element that makes them slightly better than the Cravers in battle. They are capable of reproducing through the bodies of other species. No matter how fast the Cravers can reproduce, the Necrophages will be able to reproduce faster out of the dead bodies of the Cravers. However, this seems to be just another piece of proof to support the second theory, an idea of evolution, that the Cravers, becoming the Necrophages, required to reproduce even faster because a lot of their numbers were taken by the Virtuals. This can all be considered to be part of the lore of the Cravers, as if we follow theory number 2, they are the ancestors of the Necrophages and so their stories are intertwined, or the Necrophages were meant to be their deadliest enemy. However, the lore of the Cravers has one recurring theme, and that is death. Wherever the Cravers go, and those who are perhaps descended from them or even produced to fight them, there will be death, there will be destruction, there will be nothing left after they are there. What was once an insectoid life form incapable of advancing to any stages of civilization that the Endless considered to be good, became an endless space civilization traversing across the galaxy, destroying everything. I'd like to think that the Virtuals had a bigger plan for the Cravers, but lacking any evidence to solidly say so, tells me that the Cravers were only ever constructed to destroy and consume. They crave destruction, and they crave death. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I hope you come by again for the next episode on the Volters. If you enjoyed my theories on whether the Necrophages are related to the Cravers in any way, then please put a comment in the comment section down below, and I will consider making more videos on the theories that I have concerning this. Even if you didn't, go ahead and tell me in the YouTube comments. I hope you have a great day, and thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.